This podcast contains material that is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all listeners. Enjoy.
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours, terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can. And we'll all join in to that original sin. So let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Let's get rowdy and reckless. Just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Old Man Strength, a podcast of the Tailgate Society and brought to you by Deadeye Barbecue Sauce, the best damn barbecue sauce in the known universe. You can find them on the web at deadeyebbq.com. Please find us at thetailgatesociety.com. I am Tim Johnson, joined as always by Chris Shipley. Chris, how are we doing this evening?
Doing great. Doing wonderful. How are you guys?
I am hanging in there. It's been 2 years this past week, but I think things are going well. You know what, Chris? I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce, because we have a very special guest this week. So, Chris, I'll go ahead and let you introduce our special guest.
We do. Tonight, we are joined by former NFL lineman Marques Sullivan, played for the New England Patriots, drafted by the Buffalo Bills, played for the Giants for a little bit. He's going to come on, talk about his career, talk about what it's like to be a former NFL player, some of the things that he's going through there, and what he's doing now. So, Marques, welcome to Old Man Strength. We really appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Should also point out former Illini, right?
Yep.
So
that's right.
Half our audience will hate you, I would imagine. The other half will love you because you played against Iowa. Tim and I are Iowa State grads, so we're happy to have anybody on here that may have bashed in a few Hawkeyes for us. We appreciate
it. Awesome.
Yeah. And you are originally from the Chicago area, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Awesome. Well, good, because Chris is a Bears fan, so I'm sure he'll have plenty of questions about just what the hell is going on with the Bears.
I'll need talked off the ledge later.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good. Well, thank you, Marques, for joining us. We very much appreciate you being on the pod. We have a whole lot of things that I think that we could ask you, but I think I want to just start off with how have you been? What have you been doing lately?
I'm semi-retired, but I also own a few businesses. My primary business is Midwest Prep Sports Academy. It's a post-grad and club football program. We take high school seniors and also graduated football players, high school football players that essentially would like another year of development before they go to college, in hopes of them securing more scholarship opportunities or more college offer opportunities. So, we recognize a lot of these guys aren't ready, fully developed or academically eligible before they go to college. And we serve as essentially a gap year for them to kind of get their stuff together, get their bodies right, get their grades right, and then off to college. They're more prepared student athlete.
Oh, fantastic.
So I've been doing that. And I also, my wife and I own an agency within the Health Alliance Network. Essentially, what we provide are low-cost healthcare plans via telemedicine. So essentially, one would have access to a doctor 24/7 via an app on their phone in case, something arises. It doesn't cover major medical, but if you need to see a doctor for any reason and you essentially can't get to a doctor's office, or obviously in COVID, it's hard to get to a doctor's office. And, who wants to sit in an emergency room or sit in a waiting area, when you could potentially be at a risk of COVID. So, you can essentially, I compare it to, Uber, the Uber of doctors,
Oh,
So,
yeah, sure. I like
yeah.
that analogy. I think that's a
hmm
good one. Yeah, absolutely. During this pandemic, I think that's probably very much an essential need that has probably gone underserved because
Yeah.
so many people have been so focused on rightly so, what is going on, but there's still a lot of other medical needs. Certainly, one of the costs that maybe we haven't talked about with this pandemic is people not getting the treatment that maybe they need for other related illnesses or medical issues, just because there have been, hospitals and emergency rooms and whatnot have been so overrun. So I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it covers medical, urgent care, psychology. It covers dermatology. So, a number of services that people just may not be able to get to a doctor. And, there's 30 million Americans that are currently not have any type of health care or health insurance. So, we're trying to fill that gap for those that need it.
Especially now with with the assault on healthcare and what's going on in Congress, I would imagine that's probably something extremely needed. What kind of drew you into that?
Well, I was on the other end of that. The NFL kicks you off of in their insurance after 5 years, and there was a gap that myself and my family were in limbo. Kind of paying out of pocket. Major dollars for out of pocket doctor's visits, and you can with our plan you can get access to a doctor from $15 to $45 a month, and it covers up to 10 people in your household, in your family. So even when I was a coach back in the day, coaching at small college and then also high schools back in the day, they don't give those guys any type of healthcare insurance if you're an assistant coach. So if something happens on the field, if your wife doesn't have any medical insurance, you're kind of screwed. So, like I said, I've been through it, and I certainly didn't appreciate paying astronomical prices, for out of pocket expenses just to see a doctor. So
Yeah,
it's kind of what drew
Absolutely.
me into it. Just trying to help folks out.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about that, because I would imagine that to the average fan and to an average person, they would think to themselves, well, that's probably not something you would ever have to worry about. You make so much money, athletes make all this money. You guys are set. You wouldn't have to worry about that. But you have just as many real world problems that the rest of them do. So it's interesting that I'm guessing a lot of people don't realize that, right?
Yeah, I mean, but who wants to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for medical insurance? Nobody. I don't care how much money you have. So, however you feel about whether the government should be covering that cost, that's obviously your opinion. But there should be some type of low cost option to see a doctor. You shouldn't have to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars a year, a month, just to see a doctor. Because I mean, the stuff that generally arises is not major medical. I haven't had any broken legs. But obviously, you have a cough or you have headache, pink eye. The little stuff that comes up, you need to see a doctor. But you don't want to pay huge amounts of out of pocket expenses to do that. So.
yeah, and one thing you had mentioned earlier too, psychological care, which I think is probably something that gets underlooked, underappreciated. I think is something that's maybe gotten a little bit more highlighted during the pandemic, but that's one of those things where I think a lot of people don't have access to affordable psychological care for, significant issues to even just, I need to be able to talk to someone about X, Y, and Z issue to be able to get my medication updated or any type of those things. So I think that's fantastic as well.
Hey, that's exactly right. Yep. The psychiatry, the dermatology, it's super difficult to see a dermatologist. You're waiting 3, 4, 5, 6 months out just to see a dermatologist. So I utilized the service a couple months ago. I saw one, within 30 minutes. So, but yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
That's fantastic.
Trying to keep busy, but just trying to stay out of people's way as well.
So you mentioned preparing kids for, kind of that gap year, getting prepared for college.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about your process going back to when you were getting ready to move to college, what that process looked like, and what your recruitment looked like, what your preparation looked like.
Yeah, I was on the the more exciting end of the recruiting process. Back then they called 5-star recruits blue chips. So, I was, ranked pretty high. I think I was number 16 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I was the number 3 offensive lineman in the country back then. So I had offers everywhere, so I had my pick. But, it's a little different from what it is now. I think obviously with social media and just more sport outlets, podcasts, all that stuff really hypes up the recruiting world. So with anything, a young person that's getting all that attention, that can go to his head.
Sure.
Females as well. So I remember signing my letter of intent. It was just me in the room. So I had to go back to class 5 minutes later. So.
There was no big press conference, no television cameras, anything like that around.
No. Like I said, I was number 3 offensive lineman in the country. I signed my letter. I think there was a newspaper there taking a picture, and back to class, back to theology 105. Whatever. Yeah, but it's different. I'm happy for the kids. It's but they also have to understand that this is just one small step of the process. I hope a lot of them don't feel like once they get that big time offer, they're set. Because the process just starts from there. Once you get onto that campus, you're on the meat market. There's 5-6 other guys just like you, and 3 of them are older than you. So, and those guys certainly don't want you to take their spot. So, I think if a young guy just goes into the process humble and ready to work and learn from the older guys and kind of keep his head down and just work his butt off during the process, he'll be fine. But when unfortunately a young person thinks that they're just going to be a hero recruit, and just be celebrated, throughout their 4 or 5 years of college, that's where they make a mistake. And so, I should suggest those guys don't let that go to their head, because it really does. It's special, for that moment. But as you go through the process, you realize that you're starting all over again, just like you made that transition from 8th grade to high school.
Mm-hmm. So what, over the last 20 years since you kind of went through that process to now working with kids, kind of going through that process, what do you think has changed?
Social media. Social media, just more outlets, just more people covering it, so with that aspect, it's just more, it's more sensationalized, more glamorized, so, yeah, I think that's the main thing that's kind of been, and then also, the ability to be able to recruit players all over the world, you can literally just send a film link to a coach, and he can get film from a kid from Australia, Germany, and obviously anywhere in the United States. So, and that's good for kids, because I think the kids in the U.S. need to understand those kids overseas are hungry as well. They want this dream as well, So, a lot of those kids in Europe and other countries, they come from areas that are way more, humble, some of these places in the United States. So,
sure.
They want to turn their situations around, their family situations around as well. So, yep. Well, yeah, I think that's the main thing, just the overall coverage of recruiting in sports in general. And then, there's just so much easier to scout players, with technology nowadays.
Sure. No, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that. When we were in high school, people were, sending in a VHS tape of game
Mhm.
film, right? No one had a YouTube channel with their highlights or anything like that as well. It was
Exactly.
also not the same way to kind of check up on character or any of those types of things as well. So
Right. Exactly.
yeah,
That's exactly right.
I would imagine you probably have a lot of life lessons there too at the academy too, because of what you said about going in, you're kind of a big deal and so on, but when you go in there, you're one of 3 or 4 guys looking for the same spot. I would imagine that at some point your instincts to work hard and to try to work even harder kicks in, right? That's probably something you talk a lot about with those kids too, right?
Yeah, our head coach, Tyrone Richardson, our assistant head coach, OC, Mike Blair, our linebackers coach, Kenneth Rogers, they do a really good job with our kids. I'm not involved in the coaching like I was back in the day, several years ago, but those guys do a really good job just kind of giving our kids an introduction to what is college sports. College sports is going to be like, from day one, they get those guys and, they put them in a meat grinder and, they don't coddle them, they treat them like men. And I think the best thing that our kids get out of it is that they get away from home for a little bit. They're able to see how they fend for themselves away from home. When you go to college, I think a lot of these kids, get homesick because many of them haven't been out of the house from a long period of time.
Sure.
And then, when you essentially get a kid, that goes across the country to go to school, and he's never been away from home for a long period of time, he gets homesick. I think our academy kind of gives our kids an opportunity to kind of get their feet wet to really see if this college thing is for them. Our kids are only with us with 3 months. This is not a 4 or 5 year commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives them an opportunity to see, if they really want to grow up. Because some of them don't want to grow up. They want to be at home with their mommy and daddy, and that's okay. But they have to understand that's not what's going to get it done. They will truly want to be successful college student athletes. So, but yeah, it forces our guys to grow up quick. And it also puts their feet to the fire. Because we play college teams. We don't play other prep schools. We play organized college teams. We play North Central College every year. They just won the Division III national championships. So we play very, very good programs, and this gives our program gives these guys an opportunity to see what they're really made of. If they think they're college football players.
What was the biggest surprise for you when you got on campus?
The biggest surprise. That's a good question. I think I acclimated to my experience well. I wasn't too far from home.
Sure.
And I think academically I was prepared, going to a pretty decent high school. I think the biggest thing is just having, you don't have mom and dad, telling you, they're not over their shoulders every day. You're not there, not telling you to wake up every day to go to school. So, you have to have a certain level of independence when you go to college. Again, there's nobody, waking you up or forcing you to go to school. If you don't go to school, you get behind. It's going to affect on your grades, and your grades is going to definitely affect your playing time. So, and then also you miss class continuously, coach is going to find out about it, and you're going to find out what the wrath of the coach is. So I think just being able to adapt to the independence that you get was my biggest adjustment in college. And I think that's a big adjustment period for most college student athletes that are just, spending their first year away from home.
I mean, it's a big adjustment for all college students, period.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah, true.
Chris and I could both tell stories about our newfound freedom and the mistakes that we made.
Freedom and,
with that.
and no parents and
right. And,
you bet.
And we were
So-
under the microscope of being a part of a D1 program or being a high profile anything.
Right.
So absolutely. I get that. I think that's something that probably just gets amplified in your situation for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly does. Yep.
So with that, with the amount of studying and ability to learn quickly and on the fly and so on with with being a player, what do you typically recommend to kids in high school or college as far as preparation for that or classes that they might take that enhance that or whatever? Did you find anything that helped you through college prepare you for that, or is it just natural for you?
Yeah, no, I think you learn that, you need to start learning those habits in high school, I know a lot of the athletes, and I'm guilty of it. We went through high school, thinking that just getting by was okay, but you certainly can't have that attitude in college, if you truly want to be the best at something, you truly want to be able to look back and feel that you accomplished something, you have to give it your all in everything that you do. It's just not a situation where you are a great football player and you're a below average student. If you want to be a great football player, be great in everything that you do. Being a great student, being a great person, being a great teammate, it's just going to help you in the long run develop different qualities that is going to help you be successful later in life. So I just tell kids just to don't take anything for granted, be humble, and try your best, everything that you do. Just don't give you all that one thing and then half-ass it the other time. Just work hard and do the best that you can in everything that you do in life. You have that attitude, you'll be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I try to talk to my kids a lot about is not being afraid to try. That's a big one for me too, is not the fear of failing isn't going to get you anywhere. Right. Mm-hmm. So got to try it and got to put yourself out there because you're going to regret it in the long run if you don't. So you might as well work at it and try your best. It sounds cliche, but it's a powerful lesson, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Very powerful lesson.
So you played under, was it Ron Turner? Is that who you were playing under?
Yeah, he was my coach for 4 years out of the 5 I was at Novi. Yep.
Okay. All right. So what kind of lessons do you think you got from him and his staff?
Well, he brought a kind of a pro attitude to the college, to our college game.
Sure.
The game was much faster than you experienced on the high school level. Mm-hmm. And it was no nonsense. There was you do your job, you do it well, and you reap the benefits. You don't, you'll become a pariah. There's absolutely no coddling. Coach Turner was about his business and as he should be, and I think when incoming college students and the parents understand that this is a business, and college coaching tell you, I'll take care of your son for 4 or 5 years, and I'll treat him just like my son. That ain't the truth. He's going to treat you like a damn employee. If you're doing your job, you get rewarded. If you don't, you're going to get demoted or fired. So, but I appreciated that. I always appreciated the hard coaches. I had Bill Belichick and Tom Coughlin.
Sure.
So I've had tough coaches all my life. But you appreciate that because you know exactly where you stand. There's no reading between the lines with those guys. It's do A, B, C, D. If you don't, then you better get the heck out of here, So, if you have tough skin, you can deal with coaches like that. If you need to be coddled, then, you need to be, you need a player's coach, you need to go somewhere else. So, but yeah, I think I learned more of a pro mentality, from those guys, at least an introduction to a pro mentality, when I experienced, was Coach Turner. Absolutely.
Well, because was he with the Bears organization before or after, or was it both?
It was both.
It was both, right? Yeah. So
Both.
yeah, he definitely brought that that pro mentality for sure, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. So is that something
I'd
that
certainly
maybe
take a pro mentality now with the Chicago Bears. That would be really great. Especially after today's press conference.
Yeah, it's I know a lot of Bears fans didn't want to hear that, but it's when you have an owner that doesn't have a pro mentality, pro football mentality.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's what you get.
And I'll touch on this real quickly, Marcus, because you had said earlier about assistant coaches and not having a lot of stability and not having a lot of not stability, but not having the ability to get healthcare sometimes after they're fired because they're employees and they have bills just like everybody else and whatever. Mm-hmm. And there are times where I will sit here as a fan and go, fire every one of those sons of bitches. They don't know what they're doing and so on and so on. But what's that like going through for you guys, those coaching staffs? And maybe you get close to your position coach or whatever, and you have a relationship with them, and to see that and to see those fans clamor for a coaching staff to be fired. What's that like on your end to go through and I've always been curious as to how that has worked for you guys. Do you guys tune that out or?
Yeah, I mean, some guys develop strong relationships with their coaches, but this is the profession, man. Players come and go, coaches come and go, So yeah, you can get attached to guys, but at the end of the day, it may not even be their production. They may be very productive coaches, but the owner wants to go another direction. So it's the business that we are a part of. So again, once you start understanding that, the feelings kind of go out of the window. It's more, honestly, you have to take care of your own. You have to take care of your own stuff. Your own profession before you start worrying about somebody else. So. Yeah, you feel bad for those guys losing the job, but at the end of the day, your job is to keep keep yourself employed, and to concern yourself with how you're going about your business. That's your profession. So, and the coaches understand that, I believe, and the good thing about coaches, a lot of those guys find jobs, because you think about it, you get cut in the pros. NFL, where do you go from there? You can't go back to play college. You can't go play back to high school. But if you're a coach, you can go. You have a lot of options, to be employed. In the future. It may be a demotion just as far as what you're used to, but at least you'll be employed. A player, other than the Canadian League, I guess, those other leagues, at least a coach can go make comparable money what he was making. A guy that played in the NFL and he gets he's not able to play in the NFL, but he can still play. That's a huge hit for him financially. So
sure,
coaches are fine, man.
Okay, so what you're saying is I'm totally allowed to call for coaches fired.
Yeah, you don't see too many coaches get fired and then have to retire from coaching, right?
Okay. So, I appreciate it then. I feel much better then. All right. Because I got kicked off of Twitter 3 weeks ago because Matt Nagy threw Khalil Mack under the bus, and I said that he should go punch him right in the face for throwing the whole defense under the bus. But apparently that's frowned upon.
Yeah, Coach Nagy has some questionable, character, in my opinion. It's you don't do a lot of the things he does. I don't know the guy. We're the same age, but I put myself in his shoes. at the end of the day, whatever happens with your team is your responsibility. Yes, he plays
Right.
defense, but he's still your player. You are the head coach. And I think that's the unfortunate problem with the NFL going to all of these offensive gurus. That's what they do. They call plays, just to think that the guy that's good at playing play calling is going to be a good manager of an entire team. That's the owner's fault.
Right.
The people that hired him, So I personally would look into, even position coaches that are excellent position coaches, to be head coaches. I personally don't feel you need to be a coordinator to be a head coach at all. You need to find a good leader of men and someone that understands building culture and how to, to get the most out of players, not just calling plays. So
I'm glad you said that. That's one of those things that I've always wondered, is that to me it seems like who I want to be my head coach is someone who's going to be a leader and a manager, and not necessarily a tactician, not necessarily a strategy guy, but more someone who can inspire the team towards a goal and can be more of that. It's that difference between like the specialist and the manager. And a lot of times to me, a lot of these coordinators are specialists. They're not managers, right?
Yeah. I think, like I said, the NFL really, in the last 5-6 years, really caught that wave of, getting these young offensive gurus, quote gurus, and, they basically gave them head coach jobs, But again, in my experience, with the game, the players don't care, what kind of, what you've done in the past with play calling. They want some guy that's going to go to war with them. Is going to take the bruises when, a team gets roughed up, but it's also going to be a guy that's going to be able to lead, can lead the men in the battle, So, some guy that's a guy that they can really, appreciate and respect and follow. That's ultimate, person that I personally look up to. I don't, and I know it may be kind of, I personally think defensive coordinators make better head coaches. So I feel you need to get you a damn good defensive coordinator, and then get you a number crunching offensive coordinator. I think those guys work out really well.
So you've talked, a lot about how this is at the end of the day a business, right? So, you might be close to a coach, but you also, nothing's guaranteed to you either. So it's not like you're going to be overly concerned about what's guaranteed to a coach if it's not guaranteed to you. But you've played under some pretty incredible names, like you mentioned earlier. Someone like a Bill Belichick. How much of a relationship are you really developing with these coaches then? If, you want them to rally you want to rally behind them, you want to, for all the hyperbole it is, you want to go to war with these guys. What is that relationship like, really?
Yeah, you're not really developing a relationship with the head coach, more with your position coach. Obviously, when you go through the years, the more years that you're there, you're going to build a better, more relationship with the head coach. But your main contact person is your position coach. If you don't respect him, then everything goes down the drain. But again, the head coach hires these guys, so
right.
They have to find people that these the players can respect and learn from, and but that's generally the person that a player would be most connected to, your position coach and your coordinator, and then the head coach. So yeah, I mean, with Coach Belichick and Coach Coughlin, nobody was really buddy with them, but you respected that they were great generals. They were leaders. They were no nonsense. You knew exactly where you stood with these guys, and you knew the expectations that they had. If you met them, then you move on. If you didn't, then you get left behind. That's how it is.
Yeah. How do you think, since you played early 2000s to now, what do you think are some of the biggest changes in the league since you were drafted in 01?
Yeah, I think the game's a little faster, just as far as the ball movement of the ball. I think, players are faster in general, and this comes with just, how players are trained. Players paying more attention to their diet. Science, sports science is increasingly getting better and better. And, when you have, when you have a better trained athlete, you have a better performing athlete. So, I don't want to say players are softer. I think they're smarter in that they know, when to, kind of take it easy on their body. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be, eating out of a, a straw when you get older. So I think what's great about the young players, they identify that, hey, I made enough money. Andrew Luck, a lot of these guys. Luke Kuechly, guys that said, "Hey, I made enough money. I'm not going to keep beating my body up to the ground."
Yeah.
I have the utmost respect for Andrew Luck. I know a lot of fans kind of pan him, but man, you're kind of silly to not walk away with all of that money that he made and still have, everything going right upstairs with him.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those things that maybe we kind of want to talk about a little bit more is, you said you don't want to call them soft, but at the same time, it's people that are more cognizant of the long-term health effects. I think there used to be a mentality of, here's what I need to do. I need to put on X number of pounds so that I can be the right quote unquote weight for my role, not necessarily the most agile for my role, or I need to put my body through X, Y, and Z because this is what I do and the future repercussions be damned. But I think particularly with your generation of players that kind of came through, you started to see a shift where people started to realize, well, hold up. I want to give my all and I'm willing to take my lumps and my bruises and all of that, but I need to be able to walk without assistance past the age of 50. I need to be able to shake someone's hand properly. Those types of things. Or I need to worry about my weights or my heart or those types of things, right?
Exactly.
So, and that's something that, I follow you on Twitter that you've kind of been outspoken about the kind of the holistic health, not just like, here's my ideal plane, but here's how I can maximize being a good player, but still maximize my health overall.
Yep.
So tell me, like, what inspired you to kind of focus on that, or what are the things that maybe you kind of went through your journey as a player that made you more cognizant of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been big all my life, and once I stopped playing, the weight significantly increased. Just my activity levels decreased. I wouldn't call myself a overeater, a huge eater. That's just the activity levels in decrease, and the effects of all that pounding on your body takes effect. And the older you get, the more your body hurts and the less that you want to do. So. I think the first start is just to recognize that you have a weight problem and, kind of seek out help to get that under control. The good thing for me is I don't have any, heart issues or cholesterol issues. So, thank God for that. So, but the weight definitely needs to come down quite significantly for me. And, all I'm trying to do is just, it seems like athletes, these kids are getting bigger and bigger. I mean, I'm seeing 8th graders that are 6'7", 350 pounds.
Right.
So it's, I don't want kids to be in worse shape than I am, at my age. I'm only 14. but I feel like I'm 60 some days, so
Yeah.
I don't want kids to go through that. There's too much evidence, too many people that kind of advocate for not getting that big, and kind of advocate for having a healthy lifestyle for a kid to continue to follow in our footsteps. And the game's fast, and the game's all about speed now. When I played, we ran the ball 75% of the time. In some instances. So, you would have a bigger player, to run the ball, but a lot of these guys are, don't need to be that big. With a lot of these passing offenses, and the game's built around speed now. Primarily speed. So, you don't have to be as big as you were before. So. You being a 16-year-old kid that's 350 pounds, that's not going to do anything for you in the future. So I personally think they need to do weight limits in football, just like they do in high school wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of force these kids to keep their weight under control. But that's not the case. These coaches, brag about these kids being huge. And they try to get look at this kid. This kid's big. He should be a Division I offer kid. But what they should be saying, yeah, maybe we should let this kid know that, yeah, you got some talent, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be, 450 pounds, 500 pounds, at the age of 50 years old, and might not be living much longer. So, I'm certainly, having my struggles every day, with weight loss, but, I'm taking it day by day. Trying to eat better, trying to be more active. And I just hope that our younger generation, takes steps to not get their weight situation out of control when they get a little older in life.
That's something that struck me during the national championship game this past Monday, because I don't know how many times they focused in on an Alabama offensive lineman, and the first thing they said was, "That's the biggest man I've ever seen," or the first thing they remarked on was his size or his weight. But then you look at that offense that Alabama had that they're running. They didn't necessarily need that. That ball's getting out of the pocket awfully quick.
Yeah.
Right. And so it seemed like there was almost kind of this disconnect. Like they wanted to have this bigger, stronger, tougher football. But when you're running kind of this lean, kind of fast offense, it concerned me, because I would look at some of those players and think, there's some troubles down the road for those guys too.
Yeah, I saw that too. But it's working for Nick Saban. I just hope that they're having those conversations with those guys. And a lot of times, when you're an athlete, playing athlete, you have to look at body fat as well. If you're 340 pounds with only 18% body fat, you're doing pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I truly hope that they're having those conversations. When you guys stop playing, you really need to concentrate on, cutting the weight up as much as you can. So yeah, I'm hopeful that they're doing that.
So Chris, you've someone who've been open about your weight loss journey on here.
Yeah, I was just going to say to Marcus, that was part of what engaged me to reach out to you was the tweet that you had put out about, hoping that these kids understood that they didn't have to be 300 plus pounds to play offensive lineman and so on. And a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, I clearly am not an athlete, never was. But I think the mentality or the mental aspect of being healthy and weight loss is a huge thing for everybody. You still sometimes, probably still in your mind are eating like you're playing in the NFL, but your body just isn't responding to that, right? And it's kind of the same thing with me. I would be the same way. I would think that I'm eating healthier or whatever, but I wasn't moving as much, and I wasn't. There's a whole. Even when I was at my lowest, at one point I was 460 pounds, and at one point I got all the way down to 200 pounds. But in my mind, when I was 210 pounds, I was still 400 pounds. It was still hard for me to wrap my head around that. And mentally, you have to get past that. And you have to get past sometimes, I think, of being afraid to eat. I go to a sports nutritionist here in town who does all the sports nutritionists for a couple of local colleges for their wrestling teams, and is doing a lot of stuff for their high school wrestlers. And I've learned so much more about sports science and what to put into my body, and the fact that I can eat. I mean, I probably eat almost I eat about 2,900 calories a day. But the amount of exercise and stuff that I do, my body fat percentage is going down. So it's a mental thing more than anything. I mean, there'll be times where I'll sit down and I'll go, I should not be eating all of this. But as long as I'm making the right choice and eating what I should be eating and in the proper amounts, I can be satisfied and then still have results. And I think that's the hardest disconnect for people, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. But again, my biggest thing is just the sedentary lifestyle, just being able to get out and be active on a regular basis. And it's, when you live in cold weather states, it's difficult to do that. And then obviously in the midst of COVID, for you are in California, New York, Illinois, those states that have basically shut down for 2 years.
Yeah.
You don't have any motivation to, do like I got the home gym set up, you're sitting at home doing nothing, and you eat what you're not supposed to be eating, and for a second, for a couple of minutes you feel good, but then you go right back to feeling like crap, so it's been extremely tough during these COVID times, because I was doing very good in 2019. Actually, 2019, early 2020, doing very good. I was down 50 pounds, but COVID hit and you get, shut in the house and can't go anywhere, can't do anything. It was difficult for me. And I'm sure, for most people.
It was. Yeah. I had just in personal experience, I was doing a kickboxing regiment every day. And then when they shut down here I think we were shut down for 3 or 4 months, there was no gyms open or whatever else. That was really hard. And it was, you would think that it would be easier. Well, I don't have to go anywhere. I can just do it right here in my home. They did online classes and everything else. It was really hard to motivate myself to do that. Yep. Whereas I just have a process now. I get up early in the morning, I go to the gym, I get it done. And you always feel so much better afterwards. But I'm with you. It's extremely hard to do when you're sedentary and when there's no options to go out and do anything. The pandemic has not helped in that manner at all. So
exactly. Yep. Exactly. It's been tough on everybody.
Yep.
So you had mentioned about how the sports science has gotten a lot better, and a lot of these athletes have, way more focus on their diet and their workout regimen and all of that. It has to be one of those things that from how you worked out 20 years ago when you were just entering college to now, you're seeing the behavior. It's not just the behavior and the attitude, but it's everything else, right? That goes into your total fitness and your total approach to a healthy lifestyle. I'd imagine you've evolved and changed a lot of how you approach that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an athlete anymore, but yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Even just from day-to-day meal choices. When you're younger, you can eat 30 wings, but now you eat 10, and they're baked, or you just don't eat them at all. And I think also what helps is the evolution of more plant-based diets. I think that's certainly helped. You have a lot of evidence and athletes that have gone plant-based and, have, made tremendous gains for themselves. So, there's just a lot of data, a lot of information out there, just as far as, helping athletes evolve and be better, give them an opportunity to be, to give their best performances on the field. So,
sure.
And I think I think that younger athletes are starting to pick up on that as well. So you see a lot of that trickling down to the college level as well. I think these college programs are doing a very good job of, creating nutritious centers and, cafeterias for their athletes, because that was the biggest thing for me is the diet. You work out all day, you know how to work out hard, you give it your all, running, lifting. But the diet was the one thing that I had to kind of realize that was the next step in becoming a peak athlete. To get the most out of your body as far as an athlete, that was the diet.
Is there something that you would say maybe to an 18-year-old kid that you wish someone would have said to you to kind of maybe prepare you for that?
Yeah, I can say that, but they ain't gonna listen. You can tell an 18-year-old kid you can give them a freaking blueprint, a map, a Bible on exactly A to Z what they need to do. When it comes to diet, kids are gonna eat whatever the hell they want to eat because their metabolism is so crazy high. They can eat what they want to eat, and even
Right.
the athletes that are drinking. These guys can go out and drink all night and then get up the next morning and do what they need to do as far as their daily workout. So you just have to experience it for yourself. These kids. There's old saying, fat meat ain't greasy. So people don't believe fat meat ain't greasy. They have to experience for themselves. They have to really see the benefits of changing their habits. And once they do, hopefully they stick to it. So, but yeah, I mean, kids are going to be kids, man. We did the same crap when we were kids. People would tell us exactly what we needed to do. We didn't listen. So,
Oh no,
okay.
man.
No.
I'm in my 40s. I still don't listen. So
Right.
So,
That's my wife. My wife tells me every day I don't listen. So
yeah, so like I said, you can tell these kids. It's that's the frustration with coaches. You tell these kids you got to do this, this, and this, and this, and they only do one of 8 things you need to tell them. So, but that's why there's not a lot of elite athletes out there. So, it's the ones that stay disciplined and the ones that really, really buy into everything they need to do to be a peak performer. Those are the ones that you see making millions and multi-million, $500 million deals.
yeah, no kidding. I got a question. I got to lighten it up a little bit here because you mentioned wings. And somebody asked me, since they were born and raised in Buffalo, they want to know what your favorite spot was for wings in Buffalo.
Honestly, man, Chicago's got way better wings than Buffalo. Buffalo just originated the wings. Somebody was telling me about a spot that Josh Allen likes to go to. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, I mean, I really couldn't give you a go-to spot in Buffalo. Funny thing is, the first place I went when I got out, when I got drafted, I was driving up to Buffalo from Chicago. First place I went was the Anchor Bar to really see if their wings were, all of that. Since it was the original location of wings, and I ate them. I was like, man, this ain't nothing. I got Chicago are way better than this, but yeah, you have to talk to a native Buffalonian about that, man. I personally like Lenovo, the late night spot for pizza and wings. Duff's is really good too. That's pretty good. But yeah, like I said, there's one spot I forgot the name of it. Everybody raves about. Hopefully I'll be able to remember by the time this is over. But quite.
Our listeners want the hard hitting information where the best wings are. So, yeah, the other thing I got to ask you is, and I'm a huge football fan. I've been a football fan for as long as I can remember. But this whole Bills Mafia thing, I don't recall this at all being a thing until just here recently. Were they always this crazy back then, or is this just now because of social media? It's more out there now.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, the Bills Mafia back in the day when I was there, that wasn't even a thing. It was, that was more like after the 2010s. That whole crew. But the fans have always been crazy like that. That ain't nothing new. You said, they're getting more attention. But yeah, Buffalo fans are the wildest fans in the NFL, and they're great though. Very, very nice, super supportive of the Bills. But yeah, they've always been doing the table diving thing, man. That's just
See,
what
I don't get that at all. That's crazy.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you live in Buffalo, I would imagine that. So Greg Williams, the coach up there, he was a defensive coordinator, right? For the longest time. But he was your coach up there or not?
No, Wade was before Greg Williams.
Oh, okay.
He was my coach.
Okay.
Greg Williams and Mike Malarkey.
Wade Phillips, right?
Wade Phillips. I'm sorry. Yeah. Did I say
Yeah.
what did I?
So that's all right. You might have said that. I don't know. I wasn't really. I didn't hear very well. Wade Phillips. That's that. Every job that he's went to as a defensive coordinator, I think he has killed it. And there's been several times that I've wished that Chicago has hired him. So.
Yeah. Right. Like I said, we could have a whole separate discussion on the Bears, man. That's just, I mean, God, it's just. I personally wish Mark Cuban would just write a check and just get the McCaskey.
Oh my God, that'd be so great. It'd be so great. I'd be so ecstatic.
Yeah,
you stabbed me in the heart today, though, Marcus, when you said we should trade Mac. I about lost it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He's still a great player.
No,
for the trade, like I said, I was telling people back in the day they need to get rid of trade Devin Hester when he had. He had peak trade value. It's all. I'm thinking it from a GM standpoint, man. I'm not thinking it from a fan standpoint. And I know that's hard to do, but the Bears need a few more pieces. And people just figured out Khalil Mack, man. They figured him out. He needs a change of scenery. He's a guy that can just go to team and and be, go to different conferences and guys won't know him. Be able to prepare for him for a few years, so he can go. To like a Cleveland or somewhere like that, get 12, 15 sacks his first couple of years. But again, they'll eventually figure him out, and then he's got to move on somewhere. But I mean, Khalil's, not a spring chicken anymore. What is he, late 20s, early late 20s now?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So I mean, he's got maybe 4 or 5 years of, peak performance in him before.
At this point, it can't get any worse.
Yeah,
at this point, it can't get any worse. I can't watch them on. It's torture every Sunday to watch them.
It's tough. Yeah, I mean they and I put a lot of that on the D coordinator, man. What's his name? What's his name?
Pagano just left, but Vic Fangio was. They should have threw the bank at that guy to keep him.
Well, they should have made him the damn head coach. That's what they should have done.
Yes. No, I agree.
That's what they should have done. I mean, what works in Chicago is a strong defense and, offense that doesn't give the ball up. That's what been working in Chicago for years. And, to go to an unproven guy in Nagy just because he coached Patrick Mahomes, it's like, how are you going to go get the guy that coached Patrick Mahomes and you didn't even want to draft Patrick Mahomes?
Right.
So,
or Watson.
McCaskey's.
I was on record.
Yeah, man. The McCaskey's are the number one problem with the Bears, and number two was the D coordinator. He's not aggressive like the other guy was.
Nope.
So
I would have liked to have seen him take a run on Ron Rivera last year too.
Yeah, like I said, D coordinators make the best head coaches, man. So, you look throughout history, prove me wrong. So. You got to go with a guy that's a stud defensive coordinator. That's no nonsense. That the guys respect. That make the best head coaches.
It also blows my mind that there are a lot of again, particularly defensive coordinators, but there are just a lot of coordinators in the NFL right now that were very successful head coaches for a number of years that are now sitting here kind of languishing, and we're throwing flyers on guys like Matt Patricia or Nagy or whoever that you're like, but there's already proven entities out there. I just get lost whenever I see some of that stuff.
Yeah, and they're going with the new breed, man. They're going with the guys in their 30s and early 40s, and that's great for them. But it's Has it proven to work? No. Andy Reid and Bill Belichick are still the top coaches in the league. These
Right.
guys in their 60s. So the McVays and the Nagy's and the guy in Green Bay. He's just got Aaron Rodgers. He ain't doing nothing special up there.
Right.
He's another younger guy. He's around my age. So, but yeah, you got guys that are, it's time for it's time to give those younger guys an opportunity. So nothing against that, but they're going to have to start doing something here. They're going to have to start winning some big games. Not just just be known for their for their innovative play calling.
What is it like watching these games? So it's one thing for like Chris and I to sit here watching these games on our couch on a Sunday afternoon, who never played a second of football, maybe even in high school.
Or 2 weeks in high school.
Right, exactly. I
played 2 weeks in high school. And
what is it like to be sitting there? Are you paying attention kind of the same way, or do you have like a different perspective on how you watch these games on a Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, man, I think ESPN has like all 22 camera that they take out ESPN 3 or 4, one of the numbers ESPNs. But it's basically the coach's copy of the film. There's annoying announcers. There's no, that's the best way to watch a game. Just from a former player standpoint. Because you're like back in the film room and you can really break down the film without the distractions of annoying announcers, know-it-all announcers, sports commentators. So that's my favorite way to watch it. I think NFL Network has an option to do that as well. It's pretty cool. But yeah, man, it's it's all the entertainment value. They have to make these games a spectacle, and it is what it is. I mean, that's what brings the money in, man. I mean, that's why NFL is the number one league in the world. So it is what it is. It has to entertain their fans.
Well, so speaking of fans, we did reach out to our fans, all three of them, on Twitter here, and ask what questions they wanted to ask of you.
Okay.
Chris, I don't know if you had some in particular that you wanted to pull out.
I got a list here. Yeah. Start with this one. What is the one common myth about your profession or that you want to debunk, or you think you want to tell people is bullshit?
Ooh, the one common myth. Guys are actually really smart, man. There's some really brilliant guys that play, and those are the guys that a lot of those guys have the longest careers.
Mm-hmm.
One, they're smart enough to understand, the things they shouldn't be doing, getting into that gets them in trouble or, wasting their money, but these are real students of the game. And the NFL is not comprised of just the stud athletes. A lot of these guys are just blue collar guys that, had average college careers, but got onto the NFL team and, made the most of their opportunity. There's a lot of guys in the NFL like that. So, you don't hear about them because, they may be the backup, linebacker or the backup safety. But, these guys still play 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, being, solid special teams guys. You see a lot of guys that make careers out of special team play. And, there's guys that are disciplined and smart. And, so football players, if you make it to the NFL, you're not a dummy. You're not, yeah, you may make dumb decisions.
Yeah, being a dummy in your personal life and being a dummy in your professional life are two different things.
Right.
The whole dumb jock theory is it needs to go out of the window, man, because a lot of these guys are brilliant, and that's why they've been so successful in life.
Well, yeah, the ability to memorize a playbook, the ability to be out, random guy on the defensive secondary is looking at how the offense is lined up, and he's diagnosing what play is drawn up.
Exactly.
That takes a whole different kind of level of cognitive ability that I don't think gets enough credit for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of these, guys that were 4 or 5-star guys really just got by with their athleticism. They can't read a defense. Some can't even read.
Yep. Yeah, they can't read a defense. They can't even read a book.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's unfortunately true. You do get guys that have been stud athletes, and unfortunately, their upbringing has failed them. And their school systems have failed them. And it's not their fault, but you get a lot of guys that are gifted, by the Lord's grace, with every athletic ability in the world, but they only play, 1 year, or they don't make it to the NFL at all because they can't understand the not only the X and O's part, but also just being a professional. Guys get into trouble, guys fail out of school, guys messing with being too promiscuous with women, So unfortunately, you got a lot of guys that were more talented than Odell Beckham, more talented than Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson, but for whatever reason, their immaturity just got in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, you talk about having a disservice and some of those kids getting pushed through and so on and getting up there. That reminds me of the story of Dexter Manley. He was a phenomenal talent, made it all the way to the NFL and couldn't read. Mm-hmm. And that story of his and how he learned to read as an adult and so on it totally makes sense of what you're saying. It's a shame. Because I think a lot of those people just used him on the way for his talent, and that was it, and didn't bother to help him.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, schools are doing a better job of identifying young people with learning disabilities. So I don't see that happening a lot anymore. But it's a maturity thing, man. A lot of these guys just don't grow up. A lot of these guys think a lot of these guys and also the fans think that this is a game. It's not a game. It's a profession. Just like an iron worker goes to work, a construction worker, those guys are excellent in their professions. You have to take the same approach, with, National Football League as well. So,
yeah. Another question we had was, and it's similar to the one that I think you had thrown something out here the other day on it was, who's the hardest person you had to play against? Who was one of the toughest guys that you had to play against?
Yeah, I always tell people Jason Taylor. Jason Taylor was an extremely brilliant football player. What makes those guys good is that they're able to expose, the deficiencies you have in your game. They can break you down and, really expose, the things that you probably could have worked on a little more that you took for granted. But yeah, he's an excellent football player. Jason Taylor's the best football player I've ever seen. Now, the guy. The best football player I've ever seen was Sean Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
That guy would have been the top 5 football player of all time, man. I mean, that guy was a phenomenal. I remember the teams walk out. We were playing the Redskins. I was with the Giants, and the teams are walking out together, and Sean Taylor walks by me. I'm like, damn, I didn't see this DN on the scout list. Like, that dude was a safety. I thought he was a DN, man. How big that guy was. But I mean, that dude was an amazing athlete.
Yeah, that's a shame too. What happened to him?
Yep. Yeah,
that was a shock.
Yep, it really is. But unfortunately, it was the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't know. It's a damn shame. Damn shame.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. A couple. Somebody wanted to know. I don't know. You're probably around the same age as I am, maybe a little younger.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen the movie North Dallas 40? I'm sure you've heard of this movie, right?
Oh man, I watched that last week.
Okay, so thoughts. So do you think they wanted to know locker room stories still pretty prevalent in today's game like that? What your thoughts are as far as the debate on pain management and marijuana use?
Those are two different things.
No, I know.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, marijuana is legal in most states now, so
Right?
that's just like drinking a beer now.
Has the league made it legal though?
No. As
Yeah.
a corporation, no.
Which
I don't
is
think it ever will. But
really?
no, the hell no. Never. The NBA will.
Yeah. Well, they stopped
NBA has
testing this year for it, I think,
I was
didn't
gonna
they?
say,
the NBA has no other choice. You know, they want
yeah.
everybody to be
Yeah.
out.
Rasheed Wallace and Damon Stoudemire tried to make that legal 20 years ago. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too privy on, how the NFL players of today, mitigate their pain. I mean, I remember, I'm not going to name the team I was on, but I remember, how they
No.
have beverage carts. They got the girl coming down the aisle, serving out, drinks on the
Yeah.
plane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they got a guy
Yep.
he got a cart with pills. What you want Percocet? What you want Vicodin? What you want? I mean, that was back in the day, man. Like I said, I don't know how it is now, but I mean,
Right.
they used to keep you pretty medicated back in the day, just so you can get through the week. So I'm hopeful that that's not the case anymore. But I mean, that's how it used to be.
Well, I mean, that's one of those things we were talking about earlier, whether it be about, physical weight health or CTE
Mm-hmm.
or, how you manage pain or just mental health, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole host of other issues that I don't, sometimes you can watch, someone get hit really hard and think, oh man, they're not going to be able, they'll never be able to walk right, or they're always going to be sore for the rest of their life. But it's a whole other thing to have all these other issues and the long-term effects of painkiller use or, mental health issues that come along with that. That's kind of a maybe still overlooked issue that goes on in the league. Is that fair to say?
Like I said, I couldn't comment on how it is in today's league. I don't know enough young players to be able to comment on that. I know it used to be a problem back in the day. I'm hopeful that it's not as prevalent as it was back in the day. The pain medication use, but I think with studies that have shown the ill effects of years and years of using the stuff, is going to be, detrimental to the long-term health. I think that that the league's doing what they can to kind of, dissuade people for that stuff. So pain is real, man. I mean, I know I struggle with it on a daily basis, and but my biggest thing is the weight loss. I feel
Sure.
if I didn't weigh as much as I did, I wouldn't be in as much pain. So, that's kind of my cross to bear. But, for someone that may not be overweight, but, has an addiction to pain medication, it's that's a problem, I believe. So.
Did you when you were playing at all have any concerns about your weight and so on, or was it just something that you didn't think about because you knew you had to have it for your job and that was the mentality that you understood at that particular moment?
Yeah, and when I was playing, I was never the biggest guy on the team, so it wasn't a concern for me. There's always a few guys bigger than me. We had a guy that was 405 on one of the teams I played on, and another guy was about 375, and like I said, there's been guys way bigger than me on the team, so it wasn't a problem back when I was playing. It just, I'd say over the last 10 years, it's been just a major problem for me, just the weight gain and the difficulty trying to get it off.
Sure.
Because I mean, I was so active, we were practicing every day, and like I said, I've never been a huge eater. I'm not going and eating 50 wings.
Right.
I eat like a normal person, but I was, doing stuff every day. I was active.
Yeah. No, I could see where you wouldn't be concerned with it because of the situation you were in, and it was your job, and then that was what you did. So
No, I mean, I get that. I'm not a big guy by any means, but I do a lot of things like backpacking and hiking, and when you're backpacking and hiking, you're gonna have a lot of calories per day, and it's not going to be a big deal just because you're so active. And the second that you stop doing that, well, shoot, I remember my first desk job. I gained 10 pounds like within the first 2 months, just because
Yeah, yeah,
I was not active anymore. So I can imagine
yeah,
that for you, with an even greater activity level, the effect was even more pronounced.
yeah. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Well, I think we're at the end of our list of questions from listeners. So that's where we're at on that.
Gabriel's Gate is the name of the wing place that everybody goes to.
Oh, is that what it is?
All right.
I told you I get it.
Excellent.
I was
Yeah.
worried. Good deal.
Yep, it's in Josh. It's called Allentown, but they call it Josh Allentown now.
Okay.
So that's cool. Yeah,
Listen,
Gabriel.
to go back,
Yep.
I wanted Chicago to draft him too, just so you know, because I thought that guy was a stud. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Hindsight. So.
Yeah, there's so many guys. Man, I mean, I would have took Daniel Jones over. I mean, I don't even know who the hell was available, but I mean, yeah. I mean, let me say this about Mitch. I would keep Mitch just because, and people are on me about this all the time because I was such a Mitch critic when they signed him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, you know what, Mitch, Mitch will get better as the year goes on, and the biggest thing is you ain't gonna have to pay the guy a lot of money.
Yeah.
So. Like I said trade Mack, bolster up the defense, get a new defensive coordinator, and then, just have, just Trent Dilfer the heck out of Mitch.
I just say Trent Dilfer is probably the perfect example of this. It's a guy that is not ever going to make anyone's all-time quarterback list, but he can make it work. But the difference is that Dilfer had, first of all, someone. So obviously, I'm bias. I'm a homer because I'm an Iowa State guy, but if they learned how to use David Montgomery better earlier in this season, because it felt like last year they were learning how to use him better at the end of the season, but it was already too late. And then this year they started repeating the same mistakes they made early last year.
Yeah, the mistake is that they don't have a number one back. I mean, the Cleveland Browns are. The Cleveland Browns are going to be scary in the future. They have a very good football team, and the crazy thing about it, Baker Mayfield is the worst starter on the Cleveland Browns. I mean, you look at every start.
Well,
think about it.
Yeah,
Baker Mayfield is so blown up.
Yeah.
He is the worst starter on the Cleveland Browns, but that's a positive thing, because they have so much talent on the Cleveland Browns, and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb make that team go. And, if the Bears would kind of emulate that, by getting, Montgomery's an excellent number 2, but they need a Nick Chubb. Montgomery is Kareem Hunt. They need a Nick Chubb. So until they get that, and they get, another pass rush threat, and then they get a guy that that doesn't care, more aggressive on this defensive play calling. They're going to be and obviously, they got to get rid of McCaskey's, but they're going to continue to be in a bind in Chicago until they do that, in my opinion.
I think that's well, first of all, who am I to tell you how to analyze and break down an NFL team?
I'll take your word for it. I'll do whatever you say. Defensive coordinator is our head coach. I'm all for that. We'll get rid of Mack. I'm all for that. Let's trade for Watson.
That'd be crazy if they brought Lovey back, as a DC.
Dude, I was pissed when they fired him. I mean, he was 10-6 and they fired him. Yeah. So, but I get it. At some point, you need new blood. I wasn't so much mad that they fired him. I was more pissed that they hired Mark Trestman.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's been a dumpster fire of head coaching since they fired Lovie Smith.
So I got to tell you, Lovie Smith does. I suppose he's not coaching anymore. He does have the best Santa Claus beard in all of coaching right now.
I mean, hey, you think about it, man. Lovey would be tremendous for that defense. They got a guy that's going to be arguably better than Urlacher, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and Roquan Smith. That
Oh,
kid is
yeah.
a future. That kid is a future Ray Lewis, man. He is a stud. And then they got a three technique. They got Eddie Jackson at safety. They got all the pieces that kind of duplicate what he did in the Super Bowl team. You know, I would argue that
Yep.
this defense is more talented than that defense back in 06. So, I mean, I would consider bringing him back into DC and then fire Nagy, you know, at week 6 next year, and then let Lovey take over the whole
Take over the whole thing.
yeah.
Okay, so
I'm on board, Marcus. I'm on board.
we can't talk about Lovey without talking about your alma mater.
Okay, yeah.
How are you feeling about the Brett hire?
Yeah, it looks like, you know, he's going to do well for it. You know, obviously, you know, I like the coaching hires that he's making. And, you know, I think Brett just needs to prove that, you know, I think he needs to prove that Barry Alvarez wasn't behind his success in Wisconsin.
Well, yeah, say that was the big thing.
Yeah.
The thing that chased him for the rest of that was absolutely that.
Yeah. Because he really
there.
never should have went to Arkansas. He should have just stayed in Wisconsin his entire life. But you know, well.
Yeah. But you know,
he's gonna have to prove that he can, you know, coach out of Barry Alvarez's shadow, in my opinion.
Brett is, you know, he's an Iowa guy or an Illinois guy. He grew up in Illinois. He went to college at Iowa.
Yep.
So you know, he understands the Midwest for sure. So I think that's got to be, you know, a positive for him at least there. I was a little surprised by that hire. I don't think it's a bad hire, but I guess I didn't see that hire coming. But man, ever since Tim Beckman, I don't know that I've understood anything that's going on in that athletic department. So
I don't understand what the hell's going on in the state of Illinois. Period, man. It's just. I mean, from the Bears to the White Sox to the Cubs to IHSA to everything in Illinois just seems screwed up nowadays. You know. It's just,
yeah.
That's why I go to Florida every year.
I love it. No, that's perfect.
Well, this has been great.
Yeah, guys. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anytime, man. Let me know. You want me back on. It was fun.
No, absolutely. No, seriously, Marcus, we would have you on every single time. You've been a fantastic guest. Chris, do you have anything else you kind of want to cover with him? He's covered way more than I think I even thought I could ask. So that's amazing.
Cool. Glad I went over your expectations.
Oh, easily.
Awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys, and yeah, man. You know, please reach out if you know, like I said, I'm just down in Florida, man, just chilling out. So, and, you know, let me know if you need me on the show again. I'd be happy to be on with you.
Oh,
we'd love that.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. No, we absolutely would. Man, I'm just so grateful. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate your considerate thought to all of these things. But man, I know our listeners are just going to enjoy listening to everything that you've had to
all
share.
all three of you listeners, make sure you tell
All
your
three of our
friends
listeners.
all three of you.
That's right. You know, Marcus, one of our goals for this podcast is always to try to help people, or you know, we're just a couple dads that like to give out some dad advice. So that's kind of what our shtick is.
Awesome.
And I appreciate you coming on and talking about you know, and being open about your weight and the struggles that are, because I think the more people that hear things like that, the more we can help people and so on. And on a personal note, I'm happy to help you in any way. And I have a really great sports nutritionist here who actually works with Kyvan Gadsden.
Okay.
He was an Iowa State wrestler, and he's a U.S. Olympian.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to pass your name on, and if you want to reach out to him, I'm sure he'd love to be able to help you.
Yeah, I'd like that a lot.
If you're interested. All right.
Yeah. I'll connect with you offline, and yeah,
Perfect.
we can get that arrange that. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and I appreciate it. My brother-in-law was super excited because he's a big Buffalo Bills fan, so he was excited to have you on as well. And I'm just honored. It's been a dream of mine, so to do stuff like this. So I'm very honored that you came on and talked to us.
No problem, guys. Anytime.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, listeners. This has been Old Man Strength, a podcast of the Tailgate Society. Once again, check us out on the web at thetailgatesociety.com. Check us out on Twitter at strength_old. Check out Chris at SciDadSciGrad. Do I have that right? Did I do that backwards?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
That's
okay.
right.
Marcus, what do you want to plug for social media, websites, or otherwise?
Sure. So you could go to my Twitter. It's Sifu Sullivan. I'm a big kung fu movie guy. So Sifu is the master of the kung fu school. So Sifu SIFU Sullivan at Sifu Sullivan is my Twitter. So yeah, my DMs are open. You can go in and I may not reply all the time, but I reply most of the time. So yeah, please feel free to reach out to me there.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yes, and then you can check me out at Tim Johnson MN on Twitter. Please check out all the other Tailgate Society podcasts, Culture Check, Sports and Corks, Matinee Baseball, We're Not That Drunk Styling, Bitter Units. Chris, what am I missing? We have so much great content.
Sports and Corks.
We have that Hawkeye podcast.
The Hawkeye podcast. You wouldn't be interested in that, Marcus.
Absolutely not.
But
I don't know if you can tell a theme, but a lot of our podcasts center around drinking. That seems to be a theme. So
yeah,
we do a lot of drinking around here.
Well, I mean, if it's based on Iowa, yeah, I can see why. What the hell else are they doing in Iowa but drink?
Oh,
that's right. Especially winter.
That's right. Oh gosh, that's funny.
Oh shit. Well, on that note, thanks again for listening to Old Man Strength, and we will catch you next time.
All right, guys, take care.
I don't want to get on the bandwagon. I'll burn that wagon down and join the band. Traveling troubadours, terrorizing street corners just to try to get some supper in our hands. Now I waited all my life to get this off my chest, scream bloody murder until someone understands that it ain't about the money, the drugs, or the women. I make this noise just because I can. And we'll all join in to that original